Welcome back to Wind Waker. Last time we got ourselves the power bracelets, which allow us to carry heavy objects, and the iron boots, which allows us to make ourselves very heavy. And now we're going to be entering the island that houses the next dungeon of the game. Also has a song that we could play with our, I was about to call it an ocarina, the Wind Waker of ours. This is one of the two 6/4 songs, and the melody isn't actually that recognizable in the state that it's in right now, but we're gonna get a better listen of this song a bit later, and we'll be able to recognize it a lot more easily. And the sage who used to live here and pray for the Master Sword's power is a Zora. This is Laruto, which kind of sounds like Ruto, you know, the actual Zora princess lady. This brings up a point that I wanted to talk about as soon as I saw the Rito. The Rito are evolved forms of Zoras. Zoras lived in the water, and the Rito were, you know, bird people, so they obviously couldn't live in the water, they instead lived in the air, which kind of seems counterintuitive when the world is flooded. But there's the fact that there's something underneath the water that the goddesses probably don't want anyone to see, and so it makes sense that they would be forcefully changed into a flying creature rather than a swimming creature. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but the Zora Rito kind of species line, I don't want to call it bloodline, is all over the place in these games. You start off with the Zoras from, you know, Zelda 1, the ones that have ugly faces and can shoot energy balls at you. Then you go to Ocarina of Time, where they're pretty friendly. I mean, they were friendly in A Link to the Past. At least one of them was. But in that game, they looked super elegant and very, you know, human-ish. They were humanoid fish creatures, essentially. With some exceptions. Then you go to this game, and it's discovered that the Rito are descendants of the Zoras. But then you have Breath of the Wild, which has both the Zoras and the Rito, which kind of throws a wrench in a bunch of things. And then the Zoras in Breath of the Wild, well, not the Zoras, the Rito in Breath of the Wild, look very different from the Rito here. And on top of that, you have the fact that apparently the Zoras that are the, you know, the enemies are river Zoras, and then the Zoras that aren't enemies are sea Zoras, despite there not being any seas in Ocarina of Time, which means that they're river Zoras. They live in a place called Zora's River. It's just all over the place, alright? It's crazy. Let's just head into this next dungeon housing island, which has giant gusts of wind, or a giant thing causing a gust of wind. But with our iron boots, we can instead go up to it and destroy it with our hammer. So let me equip that and blow this thing to smithereens. And the trees go sticking straight up after that, which I find kind of entertaining. Inside of this island, we noticed it before. Well, I hope you noticed it before. There was an instrument shown on both the stone tablet and also in the Ghost of the Sage, or at least the Ghost of the Sage was holding an instrument. And the instrument was kind of familiar. We saw that Medli had that instrument. When we meet this sage, we'll see that he also has an instrument, although this one is a bit more difficult to pinpoint. And we'll see why when we actually talk to the guy after he appears to us. Appear, thank you. This guy is the Earth Temple's... Oh wait, no, this is the Wind Temple. The Wind Temple sage. He is Fado, and he's a Kokiri. Which means that we're probably going to be talking to a Korok, because the Korok are descendants of the Kokiri. Well, more like the Korok are the non-human forms of the Kokiri. And if you look at his instrument, it looks familiar, but at the same time, not that much. He plays it like a violin, whereas the one we know, because he's so tiny, plays it like a cello, which is pretty interesting. It's not that it's difficult to like figure out who uses what instrument or anything like that, but it's kind of neat that, you know, this guy doesn't use his instrument in the same way that the person we know does. I just think it's a nice touch, I guess you could say. For now, because we can't talk to Makar and get him to come with us and go into this dungeon, even though you don't need anything from the Earth dungeon in order to do the Wind dungeon, I'm pretty sure. Let's instead go to Medli, talk to her, and bring her to the Earth dungeon. That's also kind of weird. Like, the Wind dungeon is the dungeon for the tree guy, who should be more associated with Earth. And then the Earth dungeon is the dungeon for the bird girl, who should be more associated with wind. It doesn't really make that much sense. But whatevs. I'm pretty sure I pulled this block completely out. Oh well. Let's go chat with the Medli and bring her to the Earth Temple, because she's essentially our new sage. Yeah, we don't have 6 or 7, I guess, sages, like in, what was the name of the game? Ocarina of Time, duh, of course that was the name of the game. I'm not sure which exit is the correct one. Might be this one. Yeah, we only have 2 sages in this game to deal with. This guy, he just talks about there being an island far to the east of here. I'm making sure I get it right, where you can test your flying capabilities, and we can use the Deku Leaf to participate in that game. There are 2 Rito that live on that island, and I think their names are references to like Wilbur and Orville, the original inventors of the airplane. So that's a night. I did it again. I said night instead of neat or nice. I keep mixing those 2 words together. Anyway, Medli, you could have seen me if you went and helped with the whole Ganon thing. Yeah, I saw Prince Kamali. He looks pretty dashing now. Though everyone in this game kind of looks pretty cute. Including me, of course. You're not that old, Medli. You're probably my age. Kamali's younger as well. You're probably like 2 years apart. It's not... Whatever. Listen to my song. Yes, it's the Wind Waker. I guess you do know about it, considering the stone thing at the back of the island that you told us about. We gotta play the... What was it? The Earth God's lyric? There it is, yeah. And when we play that for her, she will feel this, I don't know, primal urge? No, it's not primal. It'll just, alright, it feels familiar, alright? That's all it is. It's magic. Yeah, welcome to the Void, where people learn music for some reason. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Komali's grandmother. Maybe it is. It's 100 years since Ocarina of Time, right? I think it might be. I don't even know. They're also wearing very similar clothes, as you can see. They both have the long robe, I guess you could call it, with the Nehru symbol on them. And this again brings up that whole, why are these people associated with Din when they're, you know, the Zora descendants, and Zoras are associated with Nehru for the most part. It's weird, but this song that's playing, it's the first half of the song that plays on the title screen, which is kind of the main theme of Wind Waker. And the second half is actually the Wind God's aria, so that's a neat little thing. The two songs that are required to get into the final dungeons, or at least the later two dungeons, are the main theme of the game. Yeah, come with me. I'm a boat. We could go have an adventure together or something. Yeah, I kind of knew that too. I mean, you already did some stuff to help. You gave me a bottle. That was pretty important, I guess. And you gave me the grappling hook, which was also very important, and I still use it now. Although I didn't actually mean to in that Halmarak King boss fight, but I screwed up because I was a dunce, so I had to. This is a little sad. Komali coming here and wanting to see Medli. You can go up and talk to Komali if you go back to the place where Medli was, and he'll actually be holding a flower, which he said was Medli's favorite flower, I think. And I believe after beating this dungeon, if you go back and talk to him, that flower will be withered, which is a little sad. Like, he's been waiting here that whole time for Medli to come back, but she obviously hasn't because there's a pretty big role for her to play. Either way, Medli's on our boat now, as you can see, sailing with us. Her hair is kind of weirdly stiff for some reason. I kind of don't want to look at it. But we gotta head to the Earth Temple now, get her to play the Earth God's lyric in front of that giant stone slab, and that will allow us to gain entrance into the dungeon. A really cool dungeon, in my opinion. Like the last, I don't want to say 3, I don't know. The Tower of the Gods, this dungeon, and the next dungeon are some really good dungeons, in my opinion. Oh, here's a little bit of a tutorial for this. You can call her, just like you did with the stone statues in, what was it, Tower of the Gods. And you can pick her up, just like those statues, and just like we did previously when we got her to the Dragon Roost Cavern. And also, like those statues, we can play the command melody in order to take control of Medli. And in doing so, we can have some special abilities. This is kind of a short part. I don't know if I should end it here. Can I pick her up at this point? Yes, I can. And I could throw her and... oh, thank goodness she didn't bash into the stone. Can I command her at this point? Maybe? Yes, I can. Okay, and here we are playing as Medli. Looking at Link doing his weird poses. It was like the first time we had a different playable character in a Zelda game like this. If you tap the A button, she can fly. She has a little meter that determines how long she can fly for. And once that meter runs out, you hit the ground. If you press B, you can also completely stop her from flying. There's a little visual representation of her not having enough energy left. Alright, let's enter this dungeon. Play the song. Weirdly, the center note changes sounds when you use it in this song. Or is it the down note? It might be the down note. I'll show off what I mean in a sec once this thing has... once this cutscene is over. And we head into the temple. That's another cutscene of us walking in. Ah, dang it. Medli's gonna jump in, isn't she? Ah, well. Doesn't really matter. I'll show what I want to show. Oh, I'm gonna jump in too. Okay, alright. We're starting the Earth Temple. Well, this isn't quite the start of it, but it's kind of another thing you could do with Medli. Just fly over holes like that. Or pits, I guess you could say. Alright, showing off the thing. Listen to the down note. I'm gonna probably up the audio so you can hear it. Alright, now listen to it after I play the up note twice. You hear the difference in the notes when I, when I start the Earth God's lyric versus when I start the Wind God's aria? It's kind of a weird little quirk, I guess you could say, in this game. Either way, oh, I did not mean to throw her. Whatever. Next time on Wind Waker, we are going to be starting the 4th dungeon in this game? 5th dungeon? We're starting the Earth Temple.